Anya.
I am Mia.
And today we're going to be talking about toxic masculinity.
Should we wait a little bit?
Okay, I think so. We can wait for
like
a minute. Oh, okay. Yeah, people joined. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, I guess we should start.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can start off with what toxic masculinity is.
Yeah, so today we're talking about toxic masculinity, which is basically the reinforcement and teaching of stereotypical societal standards set for men and people that identify.
Okay, I think we should wait for a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, we can do that.
Slade. We're both sophomores at the same school. Yeah. This reminds me of Spanish presentation.
Yeah.
Our final, we just went down laughing and we still got 100.
Toxic masculinity.
Okay. I think we should. Okay, sorry, my connection just went out. Okay, we can start now. Okay, so let's just restart. Hi, I'm Anya.
Hi, I'm Mia.
And today we're going to be talking about toxic masculinity and its effect on mental health.
Yes. So basically, toxic masculinity is the reinforcement and teaching of societal stereotypical standards that are set for men and people that identify as any sort of masculine.
So something that just got me wanting to talk about this topic, and then something that kind of got Mia interested as well is so we're teenagers, as you could probably tell, and a lot of our generation is filled with the boys, and that's kind of the group of guys that are very super straight, and they kind of think anything emotional, any mental health problems, crying or being anxious about anything, that's feminine, and that's something a man cannot have. And this is something that's happening continuously, ever since the beginning of time. There's always been this gender construct that women have to do cooking and cleaning and men have to do the more quote-unquote masculine things, and working, hunting, blah blah blah. And this is just continuously going on, no matter the things that people are doing right now, so many activists, so many feminists are happening, so many men also do support women, and I am not invalidating that whatsoever. Super thankful, guys. But I guess it's just not going away, because even throughout society and throughout the growth of society, the issue of toxic masculinity is continuing to stay, and it's being hidden by other things, the boys, just being a friend group in a way. It's toxic masculinity is just being hidden and belittled, and that's something that we need to talk about, so it doesn't just harm other people in the future as well.
Yeah. And then toxic masculinity doesn't just affect solely the guys or men or anyone that is associates himself as identifying themselves as a masculine, and then it also affects everyone, because for us as identifying females, toxic masculinity kind of invalidates us and makes us feel we have to let all the guys do all the hard work because they're guys, they're supposed to do all that work because they're taught to do the more masculine working jobs.
Yeah. Even when we were younger, in elementary school, how there's sports at recess, sports were the guys thing, and then girls went on walks during recess. Yes. I know that was a big thing at my elementary.
Yeah. Also fairy tales that we were read as a kid, it's always the damsel in distress, it's always the princess in trouble, and then the guy has to come and save her.
Yeah, it's something that we've grown up with, as Mia said, in all these fairy tales, all these Disney movies, it's something that we've grown up with, and that's something that people just, it's like nurture. They grow up with these teachings that like men have to do blah 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 and women have to do blah blah blah. It's like something that's it's just something that everyone's grown up with, and it's something that we all have to work on to like just end it. Like, equality, guys.
Yeah, which is why it is such an important topic, because as society is developing, toxic masculinity uses a lot of old school standards that have been, like Anya said, for used for the longest of times, but our society has developed so much from when these like standards originated from. So it's important to talk about toxic masculinity so we can kind of get rid of it and start developing a more healthy, equal society for all of us.
Yeah. And like, I don't think it's like a specific thing that one person can do to just stop toxic masculinity. It's like a mindset that like society as a whole needs to work on, because like it's a concept. It's a concept that's been going on since like forever. Like, if you watch like the Flintstones, which is about freaking cavemen, it's a very toxic masculinity. Like, men have to do blank things, and then like women have to do the other, which is completely like not accurate. Like, women can do whatever they want, men can do whatever they want. And
everyone
then like
in between can do whatever they
everyone
want.
can do whatever they want to, and anyone can feel the way that they want to, and they don't have to feel like it's like weakening. It's a weakness to have emotions, which is something that we will get into more about, like the mental health.
Yeah.
And like, but I feel like people just need to change their whole mindset on things rather than just, oh yeah, we should go to a protest. Like, I feel like it's a mindset that people need to work on. Like, this is the stretch, but like, once you raise your kids, you should raise your kids in the way that everyone can do whatever they want, and they shouldn't be like used to like, you know how we grew up with like Disney and like that stuff. We should like raise our kids, or like maybe there can be like different stories that we tell our kids in a way that's like, oh yeah, the girl did this and the guy did this. Well,
like teach them that we don't have to stick to the gender norms, which will hopefully be less like prominent when we have kids at our own age.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. So now that people are talking about mental health more, and like mental health is much more normalized and stuff, I feel like that is really good. But obviously, toxic masculinity is still gonna be there. Like, there was this whole statistic about like the 97% thing. I only know 2 guys that reposted that statistic, and 2 guys that are willing to like actually talk about the like impacts that happen to like mental health in women.
Okay.
And then the other like people that reposted and like talked about it were all female. And a lot of things, like, females, they're very activist about mental health because of like its importance, which is like really good. But then men don't talk about it because they think it's feminine, and they associate feminine with weak, which is kind of what we were talking about, like damsel in distress, blah blah blah. So I feel like talking about mental health is great. Like, I highly encourage it. I'm like I think mental health is so important. It's probably like the most important thing one can have, like a healthy mental health system. Oh, that was funny.
But yeah, because one of the traits of, like, one of the things that's commonly associated with toxic masculinity is like the repeated like phrases like, oh, don't cry, you're a guy, like, guys, you're not supposed to cry, or like, you gotta be tough about this, or like, don't be like weak. Those all can affect mental health, because if guys grow up thinking that they can't express their emotions, that can very much like be very detrimental to their health, because then they won't feel they are able to talk to others about their mental health, especially like other guys, and because they think that, oh, if I talk about my mental health, I won't be seen as like strong or like masculine, which is something like a lot of like growing boys want. They want to be seen as masculine and manly, so then they think that they're not supposed to do things that are like feminine, sorry.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's true. Preach. Yeah, so like I feel like guys, and something that we all need to work on like as a society, is guys should like be more comfortable talking about mental health. And like that, if guys talk more about it, and if you have any guy friends or anything, I feel like you should encourage them to talk about it to their comfort level. And like so it kind of just encourages more different people, like different social groups and everything, to normalize mental health within like society and everybody.
Yeah, and then and like Anya said, if you know anyone, or if you have like a son or like a relative that's identifies as male, you can ask them and like check in on them and like ask them like, hey, how are you doing? It's okay to talk about this stuff and kind of just like normalize it, so then that they feel that they don't need to like hide it and keep it in.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned this before, but like toxic masculinity is just a nurture thing. It's like how you grew up. Like it's your school friend groups, like from like before elementary school, maybe the way how you were raised as well. Everything is like, it's a personality trait kind of in a way. It's a concept that you develop. It's not something that you're born with. It's something that you develop through society and everything. And I think environments like for where you live, like your living situation, your living conditions, and like where you go to school, how you're doing in school, your friends, I think that all impacts the way like you think. And I feel like I think so.
I think so,
Yeah.
You want to explain why?
Yeah. So like I know a lot of guys, they flex having bodies in a way.
Oh.
Having a high body count, which is not a flex, guys. Like, do what you want to do. It's your body. But like, I don't think it's something to flex. And a lot of guys, they think the higher the body count, the more masculine they are. But on the other hand, if a female has a higher body count, they depict them as like someone who you should just not be with. That's very gross. They are not loyal, blah, blah, blah. So that's something that's very toxic. And toxic masculinity, like, and other things like this is really triggering, but like talking about like rape and sexual assault, that stuff can be really triggering because of like toxic masculinity. And toxic masculinity can like be a reason for men to have motive to do these kind of things, because they feel like it makes them more masculine no matter what a female wants, because that stuff. Yeah, that's what body count means. I just didn't know if I should say that.
Yeah, body count is basically just like how many people you slept with.
Yeah.
Which honestly, that term itself is just like.
Yeah, I don't know why I just said that. I didn't know what else to say.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I feel like toxic masculinity, it's like, the more people you slept with, like, the more masculine you are, because you can, like, I don't know.
Yeah. And also, I feel like there should be more awareness for men's mental health as well. And there should, like, I think a question that we got asked was like, should there be more education in schools and like more awareness in schools about toxic masculinity? And I think that is so important, especially to fight this gender construct. And I feel like if people are more open about men's mental health, then there could be more like opportunity for equality in mental health.
Okay, so the question is, how do you think we can change like the culture on toxic masculinity? Like we said, you can try to like educate like what we are doing right now. We're educating others. We're talking about this, bringing awareness to the problem that is toxic masculinity, and like kind of sharing like your knowledge about it to kind of like stop it. That's one way we can kind of get it out of like this, like the whole cultural system. And it's also like it's hard because sometimes with certain cultures, the men are kind of like, in their culture, it's like the men are automatically kind of more superior towards the women. So it's kind of hard when it comes to that part.
Yeah. Also, like, so I'm like kind of relating this because like the whole Black Lives Matter thing, there was a whole thing where everyone was standing up for Black lives, and they should continue to do that. And they should...
No, oh yeah.
Okay, so there was a statistic that was done, I think, of like 6-7 months ago. Maybe, no, I think last year. It happened last year, and it was 97% of women have either been sexually assaulted, raped, catcalled, or something that made them really uncomfortable in a sexual manner. And, oh, I'm sorry, I need to go back to my Black Lives. I'll get to that later, I'm sorry. A lot of people have stood up for that, and like a lot of men, especially the boys, invalidated that, saying that that statistic cannot be true, that physically cannot be possible. Yeah, it's a really scary thing. Like, that statistic is a very high number. That means 3% of women have not felt that way, which is not okay. And these are all people from like 16 and up, I'm pretty sure, which is like scary because a lot of our grade is 16, so that's not okay.
And it's scary just to think that like I'm a 16-year-old myself, and it's just scary to think that we all may become part of that statistic, and it's scary to think that people my age are experiencing all that, even younger too.
Yeah, that's terrible. And like, as I was mentioning before, like, a lot of women talked about this statistic because obviously they're the people that are being affected, and I only knew 2 guys that have ever talked about this statistic and like how bad it is and how we need to change. So I feel like if more men talked about these kind of things, then mental health would be more normalized. And I know a lot of guys that just don't talk about it because they invalidate that cannot possibly be true, which there's a high chance that it can be true because this stuff has been very common, especially in our generation. Like, a lot of guys say a lot of things that aren't very respectful in a way. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Anyways, I'm going to go back to my whole Black Lives Matter concept. So, during the start of quarantine, there was a lot of Black Lives Matter protests because of like the inequities that are happening to African Americans, and a lot of people talked about it. And that's something that's really good. That's like equity, where you talk a lot about one thing to create equality in like, you know, like in all races. Yeah. So if we like talked more about toxic masculinity and like talked more about the importance of mental health, especially in men, because their mental health is very invalidated for men. If we talked more about it, that could try to create some sort of equality in mental health for all people, because mental health is something that is so important, and if one person just can't express their mental health because they are a man.
By the way, if anyone needs support around sexual assault, yes, definitely.
But if one person, like, if we just talk about how mental health is so important to men and how it's not a feminine thing, something maybe that can just raise more awareness, and like, that's something that's super important. Yeah. To like the next steps of like destroying this concept.
What do you think makes one person act the way and another not? I think it's based on what you've already like learned and gotten used to, like what you've already gotten used to, like I think being more okay with just being yourself and not having to be super masculine. I think we need to learn, but like people just need to learn that it's okay to not just be all this stereotypically like masculine, stereotypically feminine. It's just okay to just be yourself, because I think that's definitely what makes one person act more masculine, because they were taught at like a younger age, it's like, oh, you have to be a guy, but like certain people were taught that they don't have to be like that, or like certain people taught that they had to be masculine. So I think it's all about like teaching and how you grow up.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a whole nurture thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way you're raised.
Nurture.
Yeah. It's a whole like thing that like you learn from your influences, and it's not something that you're like born with. It's something that you grow up with. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, nature versus nurture is something we learned in class, and it's basically just like the concept of like, are certain traits from just when you were born, like nature, like genetics, or are they like socially taught from like the people around you and the environment in which you are. Oh yeah, definitely. There should be more education about this in school because, like I said, it's kind of like toxic masculinity kind of originates from when you're younger because that's when you're most like, that's when your mind's most, what do you call it? Vulnerable to like new ideas and like new topics that you need to learn about. So I think if we teach it more in school or just kind of like get rid of like teach just about norms in general, then I think that definitely can help reduce the amount of toxic masculinity and just like we can just teach everyone that it's everyone, no matter their gender, that you can feel a certain way and it doesn't like invalidate who you are.
Mm-hmm. Also, like toxic masculinity comes a lot from social media as well. Like I know on TikTok there was a lot of things like dark humor.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff, which I kind of mentioned in the beginning of this video thingy. It was like how guys would like validate them like making really insensitive jokes and very like out of pocket stuff in a way, by saying it's like funny, dark humor, blah blah blah. And I feel like social media has like kind of promoted like the boys in a way and like promoted that kind of toxic masculinity to happen. And also social media is like very like pick and choose. It depends what side of social media you're on as well, because there's obviously different like focus groups
and like the algorithm definitely like
impacts what you see on social media. And I feel like it's obviously I am not on the side of TikTok that a teenage boy would be, but I'm like, if I were to be, my whole like concept of viewing everything would be so different because like guys have like different things, I guess, in a way. Yeah. Different interests. So like social media can be completely different for me and completely different for every other person. And like it's the way that they view things and it all depends on the way they were raised at the end of the day.
Yeah. What would you say to a male who is struggling with the pressures and of toxic masculinity? I think one good thing you can say is that it doesn't like feeling a certain way doesn't invalidate you. You're still male. You're still 100% just like you're still masculine. Like if you feel that the way you're acting makes you any less masculine, then it really isn't, because masculinity and femininity is all just a social construct. Like it wasn't ever like
everyone's human.
Yeah, everyone's human.
It's a body part that's different, guys.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That means nothing.
Like a body part and body part is just like we're all the same, and it's like it's okay to be like less masculine. It doesn't make it like it's okay to act less masculine. That doesn't make you any less masculine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You don't have to act like you don't have to act tough or like
be a certain way
to identify as masculine or male.
Yeah.
How do you think we can help men who have a hard time opening up about their emotions to toxic masculinity? That's a good one.
I think, like as I mentioned before, just like talking more about the importance of mental health, which a lot of people are doing, but I feel like we should talk more about like male mental health and like male statistics, because the male suicide rate is very high.
It's very high.
It's almost, I think it's probably higher than the women's suicide rate.
Because a lot of the time we can help women like avoid committing suicide by talking with them, allowing them to express their emotions. But with guys, they don't get that like help that they need to like express their emotions to relieve those thoughts.
They're very like closeted in with their emotions. They feel like the whole concept of toxic masculinity is like men can't express their emotions. Yeah. So like it's like, especially when you just bottle up your emotions repeatedly, that can just lead you on to something that can end up with you losing your life. So that's something that's really scary, and I feel like bringing these statistics out to people, and like showing these statistics to people should influence them to like realize that, oh, like these kind of things are not just for women. Like men go through these things and it's normal to go through these things, and we should stop from these things happening.
I think another way that we can help is that if we know anyone, like if you or anyone else know anyone that is really open about their feelings and that's against the normal like masculine societal norms, then you can have them like also, if you know someone that's struggling with like opening up because of toxic masculinity, and you also know someone that's more open about it, then you can have the person that's more open kind of contact the people that are struggling, so that they can see that, oh, just because they can see like another guy like opening up, which would definitely help, because it's like, oh, he's not any less masculine just because of the way he's like acting.
Okay.
Oh yeah, how do you think social media are some of the more unlikely places that you see toxic masculinity being an issue? Let's think. We can go to the last one. How can we change the stigma surrounding men's emotions?
I feel like the whole stigma around men's emotion is like that men can't express emotions and men just don't have emotions, and I feel like that stigma is horrible, and as we mentioned, it can lead to like increased like crazy high like suicide rates, and if we change it, we just need to like get people more open about it
and like telling people it's okay, like we need to really enforce, because toxic masculinity has been a thing that's been being enforced over repeatedly for a very long time. So I think that if we counter that and try to reinforce the idea that it's okay to talk about like mental health, because I think that's just talking about mental health is a struggle for a lot of people. I feel like it's getting better nowadays, but it's also still very much a problem, because just anybody, no matter their gender or their gender identity, struggle with opening up. But I think that with toxic masculinity, it's just like enforce that, like, oh, you're a guy, you can't talk about your feelings. So I think that we just need to like teach and bring, like what we are doing right now, we need to bring awareness to the topic and like allowing people to just express how they feel.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. Thank you so much.
Well, if they have any other questions.
Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, just let us know right now.
So just,
We'll just give it a minute. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys so much for listening to our Real Talk, and we hope to do one soon on different topics. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, I need to save this.
Yeah.
Wait, how do I save this? Okay, guys. It's gonna be a second.